Welcome to MARC Matters, a monthly series produced by MARC Inc. of Manchester that focus on people with disability, their success and challenges to live, work, and enjoy the community. I also want to thank Mary Gonzalez for subbing for me for 2 months. My name is Thomas McCann, and I am your host today. We will talk to Scott Stafford. Later, we'll talk to Beth Stafford. Hello, Scott.
Hello, Tom.
How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
Fine. My first question to you is, how long have you worked at MARC?
Well, Tom, it'll be 5 years this August, 50th anniversary coming up. So 2003, I started with MARC Inc.
How did you become involved with MARC?
Well, I worked as a manufacturing manager for about 22 years, and when I left that job, I was looking around for another job in the area. I wanted to stay in Manchester, and my wife, Beth, who will be on later, she was a good friend of Lori Preitko, the former executive director. So Lori found out that I was looking for work, asked me to come in and learn a little bit more about MARC Inc., and it looked like it would be a good match, so that's how I started.
That is very interesting. What position have you held?
Well, the first position that I held with MARC Inc. was in the Quality Assurance Department. You might remember it used to be called Community Participation because we were so active in the community. And my basic role was to come in and take over all the training, make sure all of our staff, we have over 100 staff. Right now I think we're up to 173 staff. But my first job was to make sure that the staff were trained properly and that everything that we were supposed to do, we were doing right.
When you were appointed when were you appointed the director of this office?
Well, if you remember back in, I think it was January of 2006 when Lori finally retired after a long and successful career. She retired as the executive director, and Ken Charpentier took over that job as executive director, and I was asked at that time to take over the job of director of services, which was Ken's old job.
Now, what do you do as a director of services?
Well, I get to do a little bit of everything. It's kind of a fun job. I get to work with all of the departments, our senior center, with our retirees. I get to work with our employment department, our residential department, quality control, and even a little bit with finance and some of the other departments to kind of make sure that they have all the tools that they need to do their job the very best the way that they can.
How do you oversee all the departments?
Well, oversee is kind of a strong word. It kind of sounds like bossy. I hope I'm not like a bossy type person, but I get to work with them in a partnership. I work with all the directors and with a lot of the coordinators. And again, just to communicate real well with one another, make sure we all understand what our mission is. And our mission is to do the very best we can to help people with disabilities live lives to the fullest. So I try to work with them together and make sure we understand that and we have all the tools that we need to get that job done.
How do you ensure that all staff are properly trained?
That's a big job. We have a lot of training that has to be done. There are certain trainings that are mandatory. We want all of our staff to be certified in CPR, in first aid. Many of our staff need to be certified in what's called PMT. And then a lot of our staff have to be certified in medication administration. And those are just a few of the major ones, but there are lots of different trainings. So when you have 175 employees, it's a never-ending task to make sure that they're all trained, and then they have to recertify. So we have a coordinator in our quality assurance department that is dedicated. That's basically his full-time job, is to track all of those trainings, remind people of when their trainings are coming due, put out a schedule, make sure that the instructors are all on board. So it's a big job.
You said PMT. What's a PMT?
PMT, actually there are two P's, but they call it PMT. It stands for Physical Psychological Management Training. And basically it is a course, a full-day course that our employees take that helps them to understand the reasons for aggression. Sometimes people out of frustration or out of fear can become aggressive at times. And working with people that might have that as part of their disability, we want to be able to understand that. Why do people become aggressive? It helps us to understand the reasons behind it so that we can prevent it from happening most of the time. And then in the rare occasion that someone might become aggressive in spite of those techniques, we want to be able to know how to handle that aggression in the safest possible manner. So that's PMT.
What's the best part of your job?
Oh, the best part of my job by far is working with the people. I get to work with 175 staff. I think we have about 210 folks with special needs that we help now. And just being with people all day long that have a good heart, that want to do the right thing, that enjoy life, that's by far the best part of the job, is the people.
So you see the people and not the disabilities.
Absolutely. You know, that MARC has that saying, seeing people, not disabilities. When I first came to work for MARC, Tom, I didn't really understand what that meant as well. But after working with MARC Inc. for a while, I see John, who happens to sit in a wheelchair now instead of the wheelchair. You know, we go around to all the fourth graders right now at this time of year, in fact, and we talk to them about diversity and being aware that people with disabilities are just like you and I. And that's an important lesson that, that MARC Inc. taught me, is that I do see people now instead of the disability.
What is MARC Youth Service?
MARC Youth Services. MARC Youth Services is a very special program. We took some of the strengths that MARC Inc. has. You know, we're good at helping people find jobs. So we were asked by Senator Jack Thomas to take that skill that we had to help people find jobs, and could we apply that to Manchester youth, basically high school students that were in danger of dropping out and not finishing their high school education. So back when Lori Prytka was the executive director, she said, yeah, I think we could do that. So we put together a team at MARC Inc., and I think this was back, oh, maybe 2000, 2001, 2002, around that time. And we put together a team, and we went out and we looked for students that were at risk of dropping out. And I think the first class started out with about 12 or 14 students. We've averaged about 12 to 15 every year since. And we bring those students in, and we help them go through a program where they can earn up to 3 credits, accredited from the state of Connecticut, toward their high school graduation. And it helps them learn things about community. We teach them some of those same skills that our staff had: CPR, first aid, sign language sometimes. And then another component is called Community and Careers, where we take them around to different employers throughout the Manchester area. We partner with those employers. We show them what different careers are like what would it be like to work at a bank? What would it be like to work at Lynch Toyota, where they sell the cars? Or even right here at Cox Communications, we bring the students here. In fact, we were here just last week in this very studio filming a show here. So that's MARC Youth Services.
How many kids are graduated from the program?
Well, let's see. I think we started in 2002, so that would make this, what, our 5th year, I believe. And we average graduates about 10 per year, so over 50. Over 50 students so far that have graduated from high school that perhaps would not have graduated from high school had it not been for a MARC Inc. Youth Services program.
Over 50 kids.
That's right.
Gee, MARC does a lot for our youth kids and kids in MARC.
I think that's a special part of what MARC is, Tom, is that we take what we're good at and we try to share it as much as we can with the town of Manchester. It's very much a partnership with the Manchester community. MARC Inc. Benefits from being here in Manchester, and we like to think that Manchester benefits from MARC being here as well.
Is MARC like a job training? You bring kids in to MARC. Is it like a job training for them?
Not per se, but we have had programs that we've done in the past. We have one called a direct care provider training that we've offered in the past, where we bring young people in who are looking for a career, and we actually show them what it's like to be what we call a direct care provider. In other words, the staff that work with our people with disabilities, we teach these young kids how to provide those services, how to care for people, how to help support people to live their lives fully. So in that sense, yes, we do some job training. And then obviously do a lot of job training with the folks that we support.
I tell you, you guys do a lot for the community.
Well, we like to think so.
Not even, I'm not saying that just because you're part of MARC, but you do a lot for the community.
Well, thank you, Tom.
Outside of MARC, what are some of your hobbies?
Well, I'm very active in the church that I go to, so we do spend a lot of time doing church activities. In fact, we're doing a play right now, and I don't know how they did it, but they asked me to participate in this play with high school students, and I agreed to do a small part, and that grew into standing behind the stage after my little small part and prompting them not to forget their lines. So we do things with the church a lot. And then I guess I love to golf, I love to fish, and I love to go to my granddaughter's softball games and basketball games and things of that nature.
Do you like bowling?
I do. I used to bowl a lot. We used to live in Michigan, Tom, and people in Michigan bowl 24 hours a day because with the General Motors plants, they work 3 shifts, so I used to bowl a lot when I was in Michigan.
Have you ever played softball?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
And what position did you play?
Well, I used to play center field, and then when I got a little bit older and couldn't throw as well, I kind of moved into the infield. And then eventually my arm kind of wore out, so now I kind of watch softball from the sidelines. But I love to play softball.
Now, you told me that the best part of your job was working with all the departments. Now, is also your best job is working with the people that come to them to MARC?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. They say that our job is supposed to help people and teach people, but you guys that we work with at MARC Inc., you teach me every day. You teach me lessons. You teach me how to stay optimistic. You teach me how to be dedicated, how to never give up and work hard. You guys teach me as much as I teach you.
Well, that's good to hear, because we do teach.
You do.
You know I'm part of People Force of Connecticut, and what we do there is we teach people too. If somebody from MARC had a problem, would they go directly to you, or who would they go to?
That's one of the nice things about MARC, I guess, is they can go directly to me. They can go directly to the executive director and knock on the executive director's door. There are no closed doors at MARC. Typically what a person would do is they would go to the person that they're working with, the person that is nearest. All MARC staff are taught to be respectful of people, and if someone has a question they want to ask or they have a concern, you can go to anybody that you want. But you don't have to stop there. Let's say you came to me and you asked me a question and I didn't have the answer. You go on to the next person or the next person, and eventually we'll help you find the answer to your question.
Well, Scott, you have done a lot for MARC, and actually I don't know what we would do without a person like you. I wanna thank you for coming. You enlightened us in what you do for MARC. And we'll be back with Beth Stafford right after this.
Thank you, Tom.
Welcome back to MARC Matters. I'm here with Beth Stafford.
Hi, Tom.
Hello, Beth. And what is MACC?
We refer to it as MACC, or MACC Charities, and it stands for Manchester Area Conference of Churches.
How long have you been there?
Coming up on May 3rd, I'll be there 9 years. Long time.
Holy cow. Can I be though? Why did you get involved with MACC?
With MACC? I have been a social worker for 35 years, and I worked for the town of Manchester for 12 years. And when the state changed the way that they did general assistance in the state of Connecticut, the town of Manchester had to kind of reorganize what they were doing. And MACC had an opening for an executive director to work in this nonprofit to help people who are homeless or hungry. And I thought that might be a nice change for me. So I applied and they gave me the job.
What is MACC's interest?
MACC's interest is in providing basic needs for people who lose their housing. We have a homeless shelter, or are hungry. We have a soup kitchen and a food pantry, or need clothing for work or home or play or school, and we have a clothing store.
Where is MACC located?
MACC is located at 466 Main Street. That's where the shelter is, and the food pantry is right next door to it. And then our clothing store is at 46 Purnell Place, down off of Main Street near St. James.
Actually, I know where it is.
Yes.
I go by every day.
Yes.
How many people reside in this office?
That rely on MACC? Yeah. One thing I forgot to tell you, Tom, is we also do an advocacy support program. So if someone needs help with their rent or utilities, or maybe they need to apply for Social Security and they don't know how, MACC helps with those things. And so we help about 2,000 people a year with food, and about 600 people a year to have a shelter to come in out of the rain and out of the elements. Maybe they've lost their housing and they can sleep over at our place until they can get back on their feet.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this. Now, if you have somebody in the shelter, now, is it right that a shelter does not open like until 6 in the evening, or is it open all day?
That's a very good question, Tom. We open at 6 o'clock. They can come in and they spend the night with us, and then at 8:30 in the morning they leave the shelter, and then they start working on if they need to look for housing, or if they need to go into treatment, or looking for jobs. They go do that, and then they come back and they eat with us at lunchtime at the soup kitchen, and then they come back again at night at 6.
What type of fundraisers does MACC do in the community?
We do a number of fundraisers. In the spring, we have a walk against hunger. We've done that with Food Share for many years. This year, we did our first one just for MACC here. We started out at St. Bartholomew's and walked down to the shelter and back just for our local awareness. And we have a fashion show in November. And we show off the clothes from Coldwater Creek and from our Church Mouse thrift shops. It's a lot of fun. About 400 women come to that. Can't get the men there, though. They send their women.
I wonder why.
I don't know.
But how can one get involved?
So they can call us, and just like with MARC, they can call us if they want to volunteer at the food pantry or soup kitchen. We take about 100 volunteers a week to get our work done. Isn't that amazing?
Wow. 100.
So they can call us. I think the number's on the screen. It's 647-8003.
What type of training does MACC provide for the homeless?
For the homeless, we do training for jobs. Like a lot of people who've been out of work, or they've lost their job and they're kind of afraid to get back in, and they may not have a resume, or may not know how to deal with employers. So we give them some classes, and we help them decide how to dress for work, how to go about looking for work, and how to write a resume. And then we let them practice at our soup kitchen and our food pantry and our clothing store, so that they get their confidence built back up.
Now, a food pantry, does that mean you have people from the shelter go to the pantry and work at the pantry?
Yes, they can go over and work at the pantry. And then if people, they get 3 meals a day, the people who stay at the shelter. But there are a lot of people in our community who are hungry and need to come to the food pantry, and they can come and get a week's worth of groceries for every person in their family.
I remember I did it too. Where is the thrift shop located?
It's down on going down towards St. James Church on Main Street, and you go off to the left, Purnell Place by Beller's Music, behind the Main Street like that. It used to be the penny thrift store, I think, but we've been there about 10 years.
What type of project that MARC and MACC work on together?
MARC and MACC have gone way back. Lori Pryko and I were very good friends and colleagues, and we've done job programs together. But I think probably the most recent thing that we've done, your youth services, the children that participate in that, the young people, have done huge food drives for MACC.
What, are you still involved with MARC?
Yes. I'm married to Scott Stafford, so I stay very involved in MARC.
Well, aren't you lucky?
No, seriously, I love MARC, always have, and I love what MARC does in the community. I've had good colleague and partnerships with Lori and now Ken, and we do a lot together. But I think mostly, probably in the jobs, we've learned a lot from each other in the jobs program. I model a lot of what I do at MACC from things I've learned at MARC. And I think the food drives are just huge because MARC has set out big boxes in businesses and youth service groups, and we've just fed the community through MARC and MACC's efforts together.
How can one volunteer for MACC?
All you have to do is say, I want to volunteer. And you can call that number, and we have a woman by the name of Jackie Campion, who is our Director of Volunteer Services. And she'll sit down, just like you and I are, and talk about what you like and what your interests are, and she'll try to plug you into the programs that might interest you.
So you don't have Scott Stanford sitting down on it?
No, but I use him a lot.
What are some of the needs in the community?
There's so many needs, Tom, right now where people are out of work, they're sick. Our economy is not the best it's been. You know, people are losing jobs.
I agree on that.
And cost of food is high.
I agree on that too.
Cost of fuel is high.
I agree on that too.
And all of those are kind of depressing, I guess. But the good part is our community, Manchester community, which involves MARC and MACC and so many wonderful nonprofits and businesses and corporations, we care about each other. We don't want our neighbors to be hungry. We don't want our neighbors to be homeless. We don't want our people with disabilities treated badly. And our community stands up and says, we're going to take care of each other.
Are you involved with any other instead of MARC?
Yes, I'm a member of the Rotary International group that meets here in Manchester, and we read to children in Washington and do Washington School, and we do a lot of literacy work like that and take care of people. Again, the Rotary Club takes care of milk for all of the families. Raise $8,000 a year to make sure that every family that comes to our food pantry has milk for children.
That's not Washington, D.C., folks.
No, that's not Washington, D.C., Washington School.
I've been there.
Yes.
How can I find out an additional information about MACC?
You can go to our website, which I believe the graphic will show, or you can stop in and see us. We're just kind of like what Scott was talking about, MARC. Our doors are open. You can come and take a tour. You can stop and visit us. You can come in and talk with us. Very accessible.
How long does people stay there?
At the homeless shelter?
At the homeless shelter.
We can have somebody who might just need one night. And we might have someone who maybe is suffering from mental illness and have to get their medications straight before they can look for housing, and they might be with us for a few months. So it just depends on what people need. As long as they're not a threat to themselves or other people and they're working on their plan to overcome homelessness, they can stay with us while they work those problems out.
Where is the kitchen soup located?
Same place as the shelter is, 466 Main Street, and it's on the first level, and our shelter's right above it.
Okay.
Right off of Main Street.
I know where it is. It's by St. James. No.
No, that's Center Church. Right by Center Church.
By Central.
Town Hall.
How many meals does the soup kitchen provide on a daily basis?
We feed about 100 people every day at the soup kitchen.
Now, is that also if people at home don't have food?
Yes.
They could come?
Anyone in the community can come. Men, women, and children can come.
Okay. I'm going to have to ask you this. What about the White House? Have you visited the White House?
Yes. With a broken leg. I went March 13th to the White House. MACC was invited to go and talk about the faith-based hunger issues abroad and at home. And it was a really exciting trip for me to learn what we're doing. And what we came away with, Tom, is that MACC is doing something very special that a lot of food pantries haven't done yet. And we have what they call a self-select food pantry. People can come in, and you wouldn't even know you're at a food pantry because it looks like a little convenience store. People don't hand you the food. You shop for it yourself. And I found out in Washington, D.C. that is a very rare program in the country, and we're only about 3 or 4 in the state of Connecticut that do that. So I was really excited. I walked right by President Bush's office. Isn't that cool?
Oh, that was my next question. But you beat me to it. I want to say thank you, Beth, for being here.
Thank you for having me, Tom.
I want to thank also Scott for being here. And we'll also see you next month on MARC Matters. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Tom.